Tell me what your life was like before you died.
When I had the experience of clinically dying in Chicago in 2019, I was about 75, 76, something like that. And when I died, it was painless because when I was in the hospital, I got into an argument with my wife. She got a temper. As we were in the hospital, my wife put me in a wheelchair and she took me up to the 4th floor to meet and have colonoscopists do this thing. But before we got up to the 4th floor, we got into an argument. And I said, look, you know, I told you I didn't need colonoscopist operation. I've been eating plant-based food for nearly 50 years. My veins, my arteries are as pure as the snow. She raised her hand like she was gonna slap me. Keep your mouth closed. You're gonna go through this. I don't care what you say. So as I go through that door to see the colonoscopy, I became very quiet and I didn't say anything. I noiselessly and painlessly left the body. And my teacher was right there, as he had promised. Nobody could see us. I immediately tried to stop them from cutting off my expensive jacket. And my hands went through their body, just like in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. I tried to talk. He said, they can't hear you. You in a ghost body, they can't hear you. Let's get out of this place. So before we start flying through the roof, I said, I wanted to see the sun. He said, why do you want to see it? You see it every day. I said, no, I like to see it up close. So he said, okay. We flew to the sun in less than a fraction of an nanosecond. You can fly faster than the speed of light. We were there in less than a second. And so when we got there, I looked at the sun and it was nothing but a huge ball of fire, nuclear explosion, atomic explosion, gases, but I couldn't hear too much. He toned down explosion. Obviously, didn't experience any heat. And he said, why are you so fascinated? Let's leave this boring place and let's go to the heavens. So as we traveled upward through a tunnel, I ended up knowing people, seeing some of them that I had known for centuries. And many of them didn't know me, but some of them knew me. And then they asked me a question. They said, oh, we recognize you. Are you from America? I said, yes. What state you live in? I said, Chicago. What's your phone number? I gave it to them, knowing that they would go through this valley or this river of forgetfulness and take birth. I knew they would do that. So as they got into the body, became human, every human being, when they take birth, not all of them, but a few, but most human beings develop what I call spiritual Alzheimer. They don't recall anything. They do recall Alzheimer to most people mean, I've seen this before, I've done that before, I can't recall. And that comes occasionally in some people's lives. The Lord has put that in the consciousness of people for them to figure it out. But if you go deep into trying to understand it, you have lived before. You have been in this world before. Millions of times, ever since its creation started. We know that this universe, the physical universe, they estimate it to be 13 billion years, but it's much older than that. So as we travel through these different species, because we have an opportunity to learn by being in a different species. So as we travel through this tunnel and got into the middle part of the astral region, I saw so many people that I knew. Everybody is very loving. Everybody has a strange, almost unconditional love. They embrace you. They got great knowledge. They don't have to go to school and study like we do in this world. They just look at something and they get infused with the knowledge of that activity or that something. We call that, they also got telepathy. You need to use words to speak. They can. Words add to the beauty of the conversation. But most of the time, they just read your mind. Reading your mind, they can actually listen to your thoughts. They can actually see your thoughts. So there's no possibility of being deceived when you're in that world. Deception can only take place in the physical world. So we all have good and bad karma. In order to be human, you have to be born with good and bad karma. It's impossible to be a human being without good and bad. Good and bad takes place. Now, good karma, we think is good, but good karma keeps you coming back and again and again. Bad karma keeps you back coming good, bad, and again. The system has been set up by use a principle, time and space. If you want to call it a being, time and space doesn't want you to escape from itself. And so as you go back in time and space, you keep going back. You have to have a body in order to be in the physical universe or the astral universe or the causal universe. You have to have a body. And these bodies are traps. You have 3 bodies, the physical body, the astral body, and the causal body. These 3 bodies are actually inhibiting factors, blocking you from going higher up. The mind is the biggest inhibiting factor. Modern day psychologists who've done research, they said the mind thinks over 60,000 thoughts through a day, running through it a day. And when people meditate, if you ever sat in meditation and you're quiet, this mind is running all over the place. It can go back to child swimming, needing high school. It does not stop. You cannot control it no matter what you do. Let me go to sleep, right? We fall asleep. And then we create another body, which we tend to think is us. We fall from the 6th floor, which is the 6th floor of this body, and we fall to the 5th floor, which is in this area. And we always get into that floor, and 3 things happen to us. We become hazier and hazier, fainter and fainter, and we fall to the 5th floor. When we fall, we immediately create a world which looks just like this world. The Holographic Universe by Michael Tablat, he talks about the hologram. He said, as we fall into this floor, we immediately create a world that looks like this world. It looks as real as this world. And we see airplanes in the sky, helicopters. We see people in the street. We see a lady wheeling a newborn grandbaby down this road. You see an old man at the top of a new building asking for bricks from the younger man at below. That process is actually creating time. It tastes exactly like the food in this world, except that the texture and the quality is slightly different. So anyway, so as we go into the astral part got partial astral records, Akashic records. If you go there, you can examine them, depending on your ability to concentrate attention. You don't have to go to a library, you just go and concentrate attention. And you can examine some of the astral Akashic records. You can examine your own. You can see how you lived way back, even during the time of Jesus. You may have been a tree, or you may have been a human being. After I went into the astral world, it got all kinds of planetary systems, huge world. If you were to compare that world with this world in this universe would appear like a quarter. And that astral plane would be the Pacific Ocean. That's how huge that is. As we crossed that world and went into that world, everybody is full of light, full of sound, music. Even the trees are making music. The animals are making music. Everything is wonderful, beautiful, with joy and happiness. Even the animals don't fight each other. That is true in the Bible. But as we cross that world and go into the causal plane, the total Akashic records exist there. The totality of all species you can become if you go far enough in the astral plane. You start having the false feeling that I am a God. That's how dangerous it is without a teacher. Because you can do almost everything that God does. You can create, you can control the destiny of everybody. You can project time and space. You can do everything that God does. Once you get out of time and space, you're immortal. You're in the area of salvation, which the Christian call. You don't have to reincarnate. That space in the causal plane is much huger than the astral world. It's like silver dollar in the causal, in the astral world. The causal or astral world. The causal world would be twice as big as the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean put together. That world is huge, gigantic. All of the karma exists in that world. And that president of that world controls everything. So as we cross that world in a flash of a second, we end up he took me to the Vashwanda, that's the Indian term. That's the plane of salvation. And in that salvation, tremendous love, enormous love, unconditional love is flowing from the master to you. And you get infected with this. You become unconditionally and fanatically loving him as a friend. The master befriended you on earth, and that friendship lasts all the way up. And as I was experiencing the great love and happiness in that vision, I asked my teacher, could I stay here forever? He said, no, but if you do what I tell you to do, and after you come back to earth and perform all of your duties and meet all of the people and share all of this knowledge with them, you will immediately go through all of these worlds quickly and go back to your original home. And I asked him a question. I said, can I go back on my own? He said, you can try, because the light of your body is that of 16 suns, physical suns. And Bangwa Gufa, which is the next stage before your total home, is huge, dark, extremely dark. And it has whirling tunnels and caves. So as you try to go, you end up moving this way, and the cave turning, you end up where you started. You will have souls there for I don't know how much time, because time doesn't exist. And they're there having a good time, enjoying themselves. They can create islands of themselves and populate these islands with their own consciousness. So they're extremely happy. The consciousness that's there worship them and love them. It's like in a dream. If you were in a physical world, if you had the ability to create children and women and countries and different kinds of society, and everybody worship you. And sometimes when I take different souls through this world, I have to hide, duck them, because they'll come to me and ask me if they can come back to earth. So many of them that I see, I tell them, yes, you can go back, but you have to come all the way back down to earth to be an ordinary human being. Many of them said, no, it's like leaving Hollywood and you got $1 billion and you're being told you're going to be in a tent homeless in a street. So it's hard to make that decision. But there were some who made that decision. There was so much suffering from happiness that they wanted to get more. And so they asked the masters. Sometimes they would say, yes, they're willing to pay that price. And they were the only ones who went back. So if you want to know how we came back and why we came back to this world, there were uncountable amount of souls. You can't even count them, because on a pen, there are millions of souls on a pen of a needle. They can shrink and they can grow as big as an elephant, big as the universe. Many of them said they wanted to come back to the spiritual fun towns and Disney World, which are these regions, because they had wonderful experiences here. And they wanted to come back, but only a few. It was estimated by these perfect living masters, only 10% of the souls asked God at that time before they left. If we get frustrated and we don't like these regions, how do we get out? The Lord laughed and said, I myself will come and get you. You don't have to, I won't send an angel. I won't send any preachers. I won't send anybody. I myself will come and get you as a human being. Like Christ said, I and the Father one. Nobody can go back to the Father except for me. We human beings are all miniaturized forms of God. We are God's children. We made of the same spiritual stuff that He's made of. But we have to meet a spiritual teacher in order for him to fertilize us, to cultivate us, to associate with us, to teach us how to meditate, and then we can become God. So I don't think I left out anything else, but those souls that said they wanted to come back, the teacher, the PLM, said he will personally come back, and they'll become his friend. They'll fall in love with him as a human being, and he will take them back as quickly as possible. I came back. My teacher pulled me back. I used to get mad at him. He said, well, you have to do your duties. Otherwise, I'm going to bring you back. I said, I don't want to come back. So now I'm here, dressed in white black like you are. And the Lord knows you don't have any free will. He created the illusion of free will. It's extremely important. If you knew everything, you couldn't see. So the illusion of free will is necessary. But God sees it as a blessing, because the angels can't see. They got knowledge. So in this sense, the Bible said, you higher than angels. Even though you're on earth, they in heaven. You higher in the sense that you can see. And if you seek intensely, perfect living teacher will come to earth and take you back. That's the beauty of the human. And the Lord loves the human more than anything else, because only the human beings can go back to God. The angels want to go back, they have to become human. Any being that's high up to the causal plane have to come back and become a human. And they're learning lessons, living a fulfilled life, living in the shadow of the Lord, practicing meditation deeply with devotion and love everybody, including your enemies, because you don't really have any enemies once you go inside and doing your worldly duties. God is omniscient, everywhere present, and has total power. He's the only thing that exists. He has a problem too. He does not know how to create another being. He only creates illusions of himself, and he does it for a reason. I normally don't say this, but the Lord is lonely. Yourself, your whole audience, if they were to examine their consciousness, they would be lonely if there were no people or animals on earth, and they were living here by themselves.